if the job was not well done enough, or it's not in the right direction, or you feel like there wasn't enough effort, what to do, what to say, how to act to get the maximum output out of them after the intervention. So the goal is not to vent your feelings. The goal is not to prove that they're wrong and you're right. The goal is really, what is the set of actions to do to get the most results out of them in this situation? Day 24, let's jump right into it. Let's go. So number one is going to be to take responsibility for the situation. So whenever a situation happens where somebody in your team did not perform well, you're going to have to take responsibility first and ask yourself some questions. Did I provide them enough documentation? Did I explain the task properly? Did I explain the vision properly? Now, if all the answers to these questions are yes, you're going to have to decide whether the job not being satisfying enough is because of a lack of effort or from a lack of understanding. Or number three, a lack of skills. So the person could not understand, not be putting effort, or not be skilled enough. If they're not skilled enough, that was your mistake to start with, to recruit them within the team for this task. So it's either recruiting them in the team was a mistake, or assigning this particular task to them was a mistake, and that falls back on you. If there's a lack of understanding on the task, that also falls back on you. So the only time where you're going to have to be confrontational is if you feel like there's a lack of effort. Now, sometimes it's kind of hard to know if lack of effort is actually the cause of a project not being well done, but there's a couple cues you can use to figure out if that is the situation or not. Also, with the people within your team, you're going to get to know them and know which people tend to slack and which people work really hard whenever you give them a task. Now, let's face these three scenarios and think about what would be the optimal thing to do. Number one, lack of understanding. You go back to the documentation. See my video yesterday about how to create documentation for tasks. So you would go back and create better documentation for them. And also maybe spend a little bit of time with them to really understand the vision and the mission of the project. Make sure they understand the big picture of where the team is going, but then also go into nitty-gritty details in the documentation about the specific task. A lack of understanding is a very detrimental problem to encounter in a task because the freelancer is skilled, or the team member is skilled, and he's putting out his best effort, and yet he's doing work that will not be used or is not correct. So it's very demotivating for the team member to be in this situation. So this is why it's going to be up to you to every 24 hours see what your team is working on and make sure everybody's going in the right direction. That is your number one goal. Whoever is working under you and you're assigning tasks to within your team, you got to check what they're doing every 24 hours, not in the form of a 30-minute meeting, just in the form of a 5-minute checkup, just to make sure that they're going in the right direction, so that if a misdirection were to happen, you'd only lose 24, 48 hours, and it wouldn't be like 2 weeks work that is wasted. Scenario number two, what do you do if there's a lack of effort? Lack of effort is a little bit more complicated. You're going to have to find the motivating source for that person. Some people are more driven by titles. Some people are more driven by money. Some people are more driven by purpose. Some people are more driven by creative freedom that they're allowed, or challenges. So it depends, what is that person being driven by and why are they there in the first place? Now, if you're only bringing people within your team telling them, oh, we're just going to make a lot of money, then don't be surprised your team is not fully motivated when hard times comes around. You're going to have to find different ways of motivating your team, inspiring a vision and a mission that what they're working on is extremely important. And if somebody is not outputting the work, you're going to have to confront them that the mission you guys are trying to accomplish is extremely difficult and you cannot carry that weight, and that if somebody in the team is not performing as hard as everybody else, changes are going to need to be made. If somebody is always kind of being a B player, meaning doing some good work but never going 100%, and it's a recurring theme you're seeing, I would recommend just giving an ultimatum at some point, and then ultimately getting rid of that person if that was the case, even if they're very skilled. Because just the energy that they're not putting their 100% is going to affect the rest of the team, even though they're really skilled. The lack of effort would be the most complicated situation. It's a really case-by-case situation. The best tip I can give here is to be brutally honest in a smooth way. So you're going to have to be brutally honest with the perspective that you have. Obviously, people get defensive in these situations. One really good book about that is Nonviolent Communication. That's a really good book. I'll put it somewhere above me. I might get the title wrong here, but that's a really good read to learn how to confront these difficult situations without triggering people's egos and defensive systems. Number 3, what do you do if there's a lack of skills? Well, the first thing is going to be to understand if the person can find resources to help them. So instead of giving them more documentation, you would give them more resources to be able to complete the task. That could be YouTube videos, even getting them a mentor, whatever the case may be. Or you might just want to assign the task to somebody else and assign them a different task. Now, this is going to be demotivating for the person in your team in this situation that they did not have the required skills to do it. And so it's always best to try to get them to finish the task with extra resources and mentorship and even helping them on the task personally so that you can raise their self-esteem for the next task ahead. As a founder, as a CEO, you're often going to be really OCD about little things, especially with design. There'll be things that happen, or the responsiveness of the app. You're really going to see the little details, and you're going to want to optimize and often micromanage everything, and that can be a big downfall. You want to learn to delegate. You want to learn to trust people on their fields, and you're going to have to become really good at explaining your vision in the beginning, not while the work is being done. Because if the work is being done and you're always kind of re-steering the ship and saying, oh no, but this thing I would like it a little bit like this, and this thing let's change it like this, you're messing up with the whole creative process of that person, that team member that's doing the work, and you're robbing them of their confidence. And so it's going to be very important for you to spend a lot of time to make sure the vision is clear and keep a big attention within the first 48 hours, and then slowly release the brake and let them get to the finish line by themselves. Your vision has to be communicated in the beginning, not during the work. That's a very big point. Now, obviously, there'll be, especially with freelancers, more the team members, but also with team members, there'll be disagreements. It's going to be up to you to be a real leader, take accountability, and really control your emotions well. I'll be sharing some emotional mastery books, if that's something that you guys and girls are interested in. But emotional mastery is going to be your biggest weapon when these disagreement comes. Sometimes you're going to explain your vision to a team member and they're going to say, yeah, I get it. But they didn't get it. And so that could arise anger in you as, oh, you told me you got it, but then they tell you, no, you misexplained it. So you're going to have to learn to be very smart and wise within these discussions, and remember that the goal is to re-steer the ship and get to the finish line. Just remember that you and the team member that is having a disagreement are in the same team and you're trying to achieve the same goal. As long as you keep that in mind and you keep your emotions in check, you'll be good.